Hello and welcome to a new episode of Adobe Creative Cloud TV. My name is Terry White, and in this episode we get to take a look at the brand new, I know you've been waiting for it, Photoshop CC 2014. That's right, Photoshop keeps getting updates along the way. That's the promise of Creative Cloud, but it's time to take the wraps off a new version number. In other words, under the hood, it's really Photoshop CC 15 or Photoshop 15 if you were counting all the way back to Photoshop 1.0. So Photoshop CC, which came out last year, was version 14, and it ended, I think, with 14.2.1 was the latest version of it. But now it's Photoshop CC 2014, which again, under the hood is 15. And at that point, let's go ahead and see what's new in this version. So let's go in and let's start with something, fixing a problem that we had before. So I'm going to open up this file, but I'm going to open it with the older version. That's right. I get to have the new 15 version installed and still keep my old version. If I want to run specific things that only ran in that version or whatever, I can still do that. And here's the problem. This particular Photoshop file I'm opening has missing fonts. And this is the way Photoshop has always handled missing fonts. Just, hey, you're missing some fonts. Go deal with it. It really never helped me. It will just give me the warning saying that this logo font is missing. All right, so I'm going to quit that version of Photoshop, and then I'm just going to go ahead and launch the new one. Just by double clicking, it'll automatically open up in the new one and give me the brand new experience. That's right. Photoshop CC 2014 now gives me the missing fonts dialog box, but it doesn't just tell me about it. It actually gives me the option to fix it. If it's a typekit font or one that can be matched to a typekit font, it actually lets me resolve the font, which means it'll go out, go grab the typekit fonts, install them behind the scenes, and fix the problem. So I am now working with that actual font in this document. Okay, so with that said, we've also got some more font enhancements. Let's go ahead and select that layer, and let's go to our type menu. And our type menu shows that we're in that new font that it just added. But what if I wanted to see this in other fonts? Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit, and let's go ahead and just move this over. And now, I know you've been waiting for this, I have. The ability not only to see all your fonts, but to see them in context just as you hover over them, over the things that you have selected. And also, of course, the ability to go get other fonts. That's new. If you want to add fonts as part of your Creative Cloud membership, you can just click Add Fonts. It'll take you to the Typekit desktop font website. You can pick whichever ones you want, install them behind the scenes, and it'll just work. Or you can say, well, I just want to use the ones that I already have installed. Now there's a filter button, and again, I can filter down to just the fonts that I'm looking for, or just the fonts that I have installed for this particular operation. Now in this case, I want to go ahead and switch it to this font, and I'm going to go ahead and, yep, it's fine. Go ahead and render that out, and away we go. So now we've got this font set in the correct font that we're looking for. And again, it grabbed that font from Typekit. We were able to preview it and do everything we needed to do. All right, so there's more. Let's zoom out a little bit, and let's take a look at the new Smarter Smart Objects. Now, of course, in the last update, which came out in January of 2014, we were able to now, for the first time, place linked smart objects. So that means that some of these layers are embedded, and some of them, the ones with the link icons, are linked to an external file. So that means if the external file gets updated, my Photoshop files that reference that file will get updated. Well, what's new is that now those linked smart objects are even better because you can have them on a network share, and other people can be updating them across your work group, and you will get the latest versions. Now, what if you need to share this document and all the links? Well, now there's a package feature. That's right. You can package this up with all the linked smart objects to a folder, hand it to a designer, hand it to someone and say, here you go, here's everything you need. And it'll go grab all the linked smart objects, no matter where they exist, what volumes they're on, and put them and copy them to that one folder for you to distribute out. So smart objects got better in January, and it just got better again in June. So we're just going to keep making Photoshop better and better and better along the way. Okay, so linked smart objects is great. Now let's take a look at the new additions to the blur gallery. Let's start with the first one, which is kind of simple. Let's go ahead and select this layer. And this is the layer containing the old tape deck. And what I'd love to do is make it look like that spindle is spinning. So under my filter menu, I just head down to blur gallery and I go to the brand new spin blur. With spin blur, I can just pick this up, put it where I want. I can make it lay down a little bit better. And again, move it down and control the bigger dots on the inside, control the amount of feathering that I'm going to get. And of course, I've got this nice dial to dial up the spin, make it really spin fast or slower. And this is going to be great for those of you who are working on cars or things that need to look like they're moving in a circular fashion. Much better than the radio blur or any other blur that we've had before for this kind of operation. So spin blur, great new addition here in Photoshop CC. So I'll click OK on that. And of course, everything we do from here on out should be smart object aware. So that's a smart filter. I can always go back in, turn it off, turn it on, double click back on it and edit those exact same settings. Now we didn't stop there. Let's go in and let's actually double click and edit this smart object. Now in this case, we're only seeing this part of him in the actual composite. But what I want to do is make it look like he's strumming that guitar. Right now it's frozen in motion and I want to make it look like his hand is actually blurred. So to do that, we're going to go to the filter menu once again, blur gallery, and this is the one you're going to have a lot of fun with. We're going to do a path blur, and you can do as many of these as you want to control different areas of the photo on your photos. So let's do a path blur. And of course, the first one that drops down blurs the entire photo from left to right. I can hold down my command key or control key on Windows, pick it up, move it around, and of course, let go of the command key, change its directions. So that's a path going up at that angle. I can also, you can see, add points along the way. So I can go ahead and spin that out a little bit. So it really looks like the motion is strumming in a curved fashion as we can see it here. Now that I've got that, of course, that's great for the hand, but everything else is now going in a kind of a half moon blur. Well, you can use the path blur on other areas of the photo to turn it off. So for example, I can click here from the piano keyboard here and go to there, and I can just double click and say, you know, if I hold down my command key or control key on Windows, double click sets that to 0, double click sets that to 0. So now this radius or this area of the photo is not being blurred. Same thing here. I might want to do one so the actual arm of the guitar looks like it's going up and down. So we'll click, we'll add one there. And again, we'll spin this out a little bit. Oops. Get to that point. There we go. Spin that out a little bit. And same thing. I don't want his face to look blurred. So we'll just put one across here. And we'll hold down our command key or control key on Windows, double click to set those points back to 0. If I want to set these points over here to 0, same thing. We'll go over here and command double click, that's 0. So now we're consolidating the motion just in the area that we want, and we can make any other part blurry in any direction, curved, add points, make it a zigzag, do whatever you want to do with the new path blur in Photoshop CC. And of course, that is Smart Object Aware. And if we close this, save it, it will update our composite and take us right back to it, to where now we have the spinning or the motion on the guitar the way we want on his hand. So that's spin blur and path blur now in the new Photoshop CC. All right, the next thing we're going to do is take a look at Smarter Smart Guides. So we have this layout here, or this layer here, or this layer for the band names. And of course, each band name is on its own layer. So I'm going to go to the Wild Leaves layer. I'm just going to move it over, and we have smart guides that kick in the minute I start moving it. Okay, that's cool. Well, what's new? What's new is if I hold down my Option key while that layer is selected, and there we go. I'm sorry. If I hold down my Command key while that layer is selected, as I move away and hover over each of the other layers, it lets me know how far apart they are from the original layer. And of course, that's based on your measurement system and your ruler. Now, if I go ahead and move this over and I get them the same distance apart in between, it will snap to let me know. But let's go ahead and just move these over a little bit more, move these over. And I want to kind of get this one, oh, I don't know. Let's see, let's pick this one up here. Move this one. Let's get this one right about there. And again, I can hold down my command key. I can arrow it and get it an exact measurement. So now that one is 34 pixels away from the original. So I pick this one up, 34 pixels away, pick that one up, 34 pixels away, pick that one up, and I can make that one 34 pixels away. And of course, pick them all up and move them over just a little bit more. So you get the idea. I get exact measurements now with the new smarter smart guides. And holding down your command key while one of the layers is selected will give you the distance from all of the other layers. And of course, that will be Control key on Windows. So with that said, close this, save the changes, and now we'll update my band names to now be perfectly distanced apart from each other. Okay, so that's smarter smart guides. Now let's go to our next document here where we'll talk about the improvements to layer comps. You know, a lot of times we add new features like the new blurs, but sometimes we go back and look at an older feature and just make it better. Those are called JDIs, or just do it. Something that you guys have been asking for a long time that will just make Photoshop easier and better for you to use. The engineers just go out and do it. So here's one dealing with layer comps. So layer comps, definitely not a new feature. Been there for years and years and years. And of course, the way it works is this particular Photoshop document is made up of a bunch of layers. And these layer comps are saved states of the layers. Certain layers on, certain layers off, layers in different positions. So if I go in and activate each one, it'll basically simulate an accordion that would be on the web. And of course, some of these layers are using the same components, like this stage 1 at 6 p.m. is replicated throughout each of the layer comps. Well, the problem in the past is that if you made a change to one of the layer comps, it wouldn't necessarily update all of the other layer comps. So you'd have to go in and make that same change across the board, because that's the whole point of a layer comp, is that it's a saved state, and maybe you don't want it to look the same. Well, let's go in and fix this. Let's go in and find our color overlay. There it is. That's the one for stage. We're going to double click on it, and we're going to just pick any color. Doesn't really matter. Click OK. Now that we've got a new color, what I'd love to do is have that replicate across the board to all my other layer comps. So I'm just going to go ahead and select them all. And now with a new FX syncing capability, I can update the appearances of all the layer comps with what I just did, so that now when I click on each one, they all have the burgundy color. So that's new, just the ability to have one layer comp update all the other layer comps without you having to manually go through and make the same change 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. So that's kind of a cool JDI feature, and I think if you use layer comps, you'll definitely like it. All right, so let's go back to this navigation folder, and I'm actually going to move Photoshop over a little bit so I can expose the operating system back there. This is where this actual PSD is being stored. It's called site_playlist.psd. It's out in my hard drive in a web folder. And of course, where I'm headed with this is we introduced Generator. I think it was last November, September last year, somewhere around that time frame, September, I believe. And Generator allows me to name layers a specific way and automatically generate graphics from them. So Generator got an improvement this time around. So you enable Generator by going up to your file menu, after you turn it on in the preferences, by going up to your file menu and choosing Generate Image Assets. So that particular one is now on for this file. So that means that if I make any change to a layer name, now notice here, the minute I make a name or change that adds a file extension like .png or ping, the minute I enable it, it will create a folder on the fly that's the same name as the PSD -assets. And inside that folder will be the file you just created. So there's the Playfest logo, PNG. Now, that's not new. That's the way it worked before. What's new, or one of the new things is, let's say I give the layer name and I want that layer or that graphic in a folder. Because before they would just be all in the assets folder and no organization whatsoever. Now we've given you the ability to organize those images in specific folders just by changing the name of the layer. So if I want them all in an images folder, I just go images / just like it would appear in the operating system. And now it will make an images folder and put that image in the images folder. Pretty cool, pretty neat, nice to have. So with that said, now I've got that asset or those assets under control. If I name each one images first, it will put them all in the same images folder. I can have an art folder, I can have a retina folder, I can do whatever I need to do to separate them out by their names. So it's just that easy to make that happen. Now, speaking of a retina folder, let's take it up a notch. Let's spend a second here and hit a comma, space, retina, 200%. And we'll call this one, retina, there we go, 200%. And we'll call this one logo.png because I don't remember the name of it. So once I've done that, there, it's created the second one at 200% for the logo name. And actually I should have, actually that's it. Yeah, that's what it did for the name. And that would be my retina logo one. So just that easy to make the folders, again, with the names, doing everything I need them to do with just by naming the names of the layers. Okay, so with that said, let's move on. Let's go on to our next document where we're going to deal with a couple new features here in this particular document. The first one we're going to deal with are some enhancements around content aware. So, you know, we've got content aware fill, we've got content aware patch tool, we've got content aware move tool. All of these use the same technology. And the problem has been in the past, if you did a content aware, for example, patch, and you wanted to kind of patch a pattern here with another pattern, but the patterns were different colors or gradients or a sky, the coloring could be off. So for example, let's go ahead and patch this area with the area above, and it will patch the pattern just fine, but it also brought in a color, and that's kind of maybe not what I want this time. So we have a new control for the content aware called adaptation. And in adaptation, structure was already there, and that was your loose, very loose, you know, tight. Now we've given it a numeric value instead of those names, but we've also added color. So just by highlighting the color, if I just go anything above 0, it will start adapting the color. There we go. That's number 4. 4 looks pretty good. 5 looks even better. Maybe 4, your choice. So color adaptation inside all of your content aware controls. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and deselect, and we'll go ahead and close this, and we'll save that change, and we'll head back to the main composite here where we're going to do one of my favorite things in this version. And it's just kind of cool the way it works, and that is focus area. So let's double click on this layer, and I've created a layer sandwich, if you don't mind the term. So there's the layer of Jesse on top, there's a text layer below it, and then there's a layer of Jesse below that. And of course, what I'd love to have is to be able to see the text behind Jesse. You can't see them now because it's the same background as the original layer. So I'd love to, of course, cut Jesse out so that we can see the text below. Now, there are all kinds of ways to do this. And of course, with every new version of Photoshop, there's always a new way to select. And this one's no different. Now we have a brand new selection under the select menu called focus area. And what focus area is doing is it's looking for the areas of focus in the image. Now, in photography, this is depth of field. Jesse's in focus, the buildings in the background are out of focus. And that's just depth of field. We do that all the time, just by our aperture. So with this, I can go up to my select menu, come down to focus area, and I don't have to do anything else. Right now, Photoshop's identifying what's in focus, and it's going to create a mask based on it. Now, it may not guess right. In this case, it said, hey, his jacket's not, or his shirt's not in focus, his vest. Let me not select that. So obviously I want his shirt or his vest, so I just go ahead and add that back in. just to say, nope, that area should be in focus too. And maybe some of that area or not that area. It's up to me. So maybe not that area. I can hold down the Option key. Say, nope, that's not an area that should be in the image. Now, of course, we can do this via a slider as well. We can kind of control what should be in focus. And right now it's going to output this to a new layer with a mask. So we can even go in, and do finer adjustments. But no matter what, you can't avoid his hair. His hair is just not being selected well at all. Well, you'll notice that Refine Edge is part of the selection. So Refine Edge is what's going to give us that edge control around hair and sharp objects. So we'll do Refine Edge. First thing we'll do is we'll do a little Smart Radius to kind of smooth out his jacket or sweater. And of course, we can now deal with the hair with our Refine Radius tool. So I'll just go ahead and make my brush a little bit bigger. I'll grab my stylus here and I'll just go around his hair and give me a better mask than what you were doing before Photoshop. Right in there. Same thing. Actually, the glasses look pretty good. Chin looks pretty good. But there we go. And I'm now, matter of fact, I might have messed it up around the glasses. I probably should have left it alone. But let's go ahead and just kind of, there we go. Clean that back up. All right, that's much better. Same thing here. It's probably okay the way it was. And let's go across that one more time. There we go. And it looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to output that to a new layer with a mask, and we'll just click OK. And there we are. Now it's a new layer. It turned off the old layer, and we've got the type that we can now see. It's on its own layer, so we can move this around and see it through him. We can see kind of how good of a job that did through the hair. It's pretty amazing. All right, so of course, while we're here, we must put in the government mandated drop shadow on the type. There we go. The type now stands out better, and we are done. So those are a few of the new things. There are a lot of little nuances inside Photoshop CC 2014, but those are a lot of the main ones that are covered here. Hope you got something out of it, and hope you go ahead and just download and do the update. You're a Creative Cloud member. You can just do the update today going forward and get these new features in your Photoshop CC. That's it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. My name's Terry White.